My name is Mauricio Cardinal. I'm with Roofing Marketing Pros, and I'm here with Ryan Holiday. He's the CEO of Iink, and we're here to talk about Iink and the huge benefits and values about this service. I met Ryan at the Wind Storm conference this year, and I was very excited to really just get to know his business and really the service they provide. Because I think one of the biggest challenges that contractors face is really the slow pay in the construction industry, and especially in the insurance restoration industry. So if you're a contractor and you work with insurance companies and you help homeowners file claims, then you have to talk to Ryan and learn about his business and his product that can really help you facilitate payments. So I'm going to let Ryan introduce himself, and you can talk about the next step. So Ryan, tell me about what your background is when you started, before you got started Iink.
Sure. Thank you so much, Mauricio, for chatting with me today. Iink was kind of born out of necessity. I have a background in the restoration industry here in Florida. Been working with roofing companies primarily over the last 5 years. And one of the things that I had identified very early on was, these property claims payments include several payees on the check, and one of which was a mortgage company. And so I have a background in mortgage servicing as well and third-party loss mitigation. So I know what it's like dealing with these departments at the mortgage companies. So ironically, I was always the guy at our roofing company who got asked to call the mortgage company to get it handled. So my partner, Ken Lawler, he's a public adjuster here in Florida as well. He's now full-time with Iink, but 12 years in the insurance industry, part as an independent adjuster and then part as a public adjuster. So he's kind of seen both sides of the fence, but he knew this problem very well. And we just kind of got together over the frustration of having to deal with it and decided to come up with a better solution. And that leads us to today, where we have our company Iink Payments that helps contractors get paid faster after a property insurance claim repair. So part of that is digitizing the process as much as we can, and we're working to eliminate the check. But we do have a platform that offers a few different features right now that help you expedite receiving those funds and getting them processed in and out of the mortgage company.
Awesome. So how did you come up with I said you had frustrations within your business you were in, but how did you come up with the idea of building a platform? Is there I know there's tech involved. What kind of tech is involved in doing that?
Well, I mean, we really started off as more as like a TPA. We were handling the back and forth of the check with the mortgage company and the lost draft processing, because that still requires you to call the mortgage company, make sure they have everything. The reason that we kind of see things take so long in this process is because things will slip through the cracks. And for example, let's say you call the mortgage company after you receive your insurance check and you're like, hey, what do I do with this? Do I send it to you guys? And most insureds, this is the first time they're ever going through this. And if you're a contractor that doesn't handle this for your customers, then you're kind of leaving it open to them to get it closed out and handled, but that's risky business. And the reason I say that is because they can call their mortgage company, and the mortgage company can tell them one thing, it could actually be another. They could be given bad information. They may not know to follow up with the mortgage company after a few days just to make sure that they have everything. And so, these little slips in the crack could cause delays of weeks, sometimes months. We've actually seen cases where a mortgage check was sent off, the very first check, and to the mortgage company, and wasn't sent back for 4 months. And that homeowner was actually displaced with his family. They were receiving additional living expenses from the insurance company to stay elsewhere because they had a tree that was 6 foot wide come through their house after a hurricane. And that was kind of the final, the final draw for Ken and I. We're like, we have to put an end to this. We have to, provide a better solution. And so we started off with providing the service of taking that off the contractor's hands, taking off public adjusters' hands, the ones who were doing this for their clients, because they should be spending their time out, selling deals, right? Helping insureds through this process, and putting roofs back on. But it morphed into a platform when we started adding additional features, when we got our banking integration, when we released our app this year, and now it's starting to become a little bit more of a self-serving type app, and not so much of I guess a human-based app where, or a human-enabled app where there's still some things going on manually behind the scenes. So we still obviously talk to mortgage companies every day. We're working to help get them digitized as well, so that we don't even have to mail the checks off anymore. But like I said, at the end of the day, we really want to eliminate the check entirely, so that when a claim is approved, the funds are just dispersed right into our platform and then immediately to the stakeholders in that claim.
Got it. So when a contractor, like as I say, let's walk through a sample, they sign up, they integrate their banking information through the platform, or how does it work for the contractor? What do they see in terms of the actual a platform on their end?
So you're exactly right. When they log in, before we had a very clunky onboarding process, but it was secure, and that was really always our first priority, is making sure everyone's data is secure. Transitioning from just a TPA and an industry vendor into a financial services company requires us, and of course with our banking partners, it requires us to follow very stringent guidelines on how we protect everyone's data. So we had a 3-part form that went out to everybody, and they'd have to, it still only took 10 or 15 minutes, but it wasn't as streamlined as it is now. And now folks are able to log into the app and provide their banking credentials right there. In fact, we have an integration coming with a company called Plaid, where they'll just be able to log in. I don't know if you've ever logged into an app where it asks for your banking login as well, and then it just connects the apps. That's Plaid. So we will have the same integration in our app. So it'll only take 10 seconds for you to put in your banking login and password where you're going to be receiving funds. And then we will connect your bank account with our partner bank, Avidya Bank. And as we process those multi-party checks for you, the funds will come right to your account and be made available right now.
Awesome. So how much in exchange, like I think we talked about this last time, was, so let's say a contractor, they get through your process and they actually get the claim approved and all that. How much do you take, like in terms of the percentage? I think it's you mentioned 1.9%, right? On the exchange checks.
Yep. If we're funding that check immediately, then it's 1.95%. And right now we're funding any non-monitored claims, which means it's any claim with a total RCV of less than $40,000, or if there's been no delinquency on the mortgage account, any bankruptcy or foreclosure or anything like that, obviously, but any total claim total claim amount under $40,000 we can fund right away, and it's only 1.95%. So it's more like a merchant advance fee than it is, a traditional factoring model. I know there's a lot of funding and factoring companies out there that charge quite a bit, 9, 10, and 11% sometimes or more to have your funds right away, which in this industry, as you mentioned, contractors get hamstrung in their cash flow, and it's a challenge sometimes. So they're willing to pay those prices, but we want to help in any way that we can and make it affordable for everybody, so that you can keep your business afloat and keep the money moving. I mean, it's really, no one should have to pay a penalty for having to do paperwork in 2021.
Yeah, for sure. So normally, how long does it take for a contractor to them to get the insurance claim approved? I think you mentioned this last time. It takes about 3 months. Is that right? To get the actual funds in their account normally?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about the typical life cycle a of a property claim, and let's say it's a standard roof claim, and let's say the insurance company, you know, they're pretty quick with the decision, and they come back and they approve a replacement of a roof in, let's say, 30 days. So you're 1 month in, but you've probably already engaged the insured prior to that. Maybe there was a storm that came through. They called you out and they said, hey, you know, we have a leak in the roof. Can you go up there and check? And there's a ton of storm damage. And so the insured decides to file a claim, and 30 days later it's approved. So the roofer has already been involved for a month. Now the claim's approved, and that first check is issued by the insurance company. It's the ACV check, or the actual cash value check of that claim. So it's not the entire amount to replace that roof. It's just what the insurance company has deemed the value of the loss at the time of the loss. So let's say it's a $10,000 roof in total to replace. That first check may only be, or that ACV amount may only be $5,000, but that's also less the insured's deductible. So if the insured has a $1,000 deductible, the first check is going to be $4,000. So the contractor gets a $4,000 check on a $10,000 job. They schedule the job, and let's say they schedule it in 2 weeks, which is pretty quick. So now they're 6 weeks into the job, and they've finished the job, and you know, with a little bit of administration, maybe an extra week goes by, and then they send the depreciation request into the insurance company if they remember to do that. And then the insurance company will send out that final check, which is the depreciation check, the back end check rather, and that could take 2-3 weeks. So now you're talking, you're 2.5 months in, and finally that second check comes from the insurance company. Well, if there's a mortgage company on it, then you've got to send it off to the mortgage company, and now it's another 2, 3, 4 weeks or more sometimes. Like I said, it could be months if you're not familiar with the process. And so this start to finish of going out and inspecting a roof and going through the claims process. I mean, the claims process itself could take 90 days. Here in the state of Florida, they have 90 days to come up with a decision. And if there's not an agreement on that decision, it could take much longer if it has to go to litigation. So even without the claims process, it's months long just administering the payment and getting that payment process quickly. So what Iink has done is we've brought that down to as little as 24 to 48 hours after the first check is received. And what we're working towards, and it takes a little bit longer, to be fair. It does take a little bit longer than just the couple days, because we have to verify the check. And so we're building some features into our platform right now that allow verification of everything beforehand. So when the claim's approved, the check can be processed near immediately. And nobody has to wait on the mortgage endorsements or any of that back and forth. So the contractor can get right to work. They can get that customer into scheduling right when that check lands. And then as soon as the job is done, we can help them request that final depreciation. And we are working towards additional features where they'll be able to receive their money as soon as the job is done. So they don't even have to wait for the insurance company, because we know the money's coming, but what are we waiting on here? It's mail. It's mail, and these mortgage companies still using fax machines. And you know, it's a very antiquated and paper heavy process. So again, people shouldn't have to pay those pay what I would call a penalty loan. You know, you're being punished for having to take the money because you're in such a poor financial position that you have to pay that high interest rate. But no one should have to pay, you know, 10% to have their money quickly, especially when it's just administration of the payments process.
Yeah, yeah. And how much do you speed up the AR time by?
I would say right now we're cutting the whole process in half. We want to get it down to as quickly as the contractor can build. And that would come with those added features where we would be funding the undisputed amount on the adjuster's worksheet or the insurance company's estimate. So again, just waiting for checks to move through the mail, and we know the money is going to be paid. So if the job is complete, there's no, you know, crazy supplements that need to be added, then you know, we're just waiting on the mail to come from the insurance company. So no reason we shouldn't get that contractor paid and on down to the next job and get it closed out. You know, there's even with public adjusters are very regularly tied into this restoration process and this administration process of the check because they're on the check. You know, they're a payee on the check, and they typically don't get paid until that check is processed, and so they're kind of held hostage to the length of the repairs being done, especially if it's a monitored claim, because the mortgage company is not going to release the funds quickly. So there's, you know, just a lot of it's a lot of unmitigated nonsense that we are working to standardize and just make much more efficient for everybody to get their funds. I mean, at the end of the day, this is all about getting that insured back in their home quickly, get them back to normal quickly, and then let's get the professionals that help make it happen paid quickly.
Got it. Got it. I got it. So to put it in perspective, so if it's a normal 90-day process, without you're reducing the time in half, so about 45 days. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's about right. Because if you think about the process before, and you think about the process as we can accommodate it now, you know, that claim is filed and that first check lands, right? We can fund, if it's a non-monetary claim, we can fund that check right away. That build can be scheduled in 2 weeks. And even if it takes 2-3 weeks for that additional check to come from the mortgage company on the back end, after the job is done and we can fund it right away, then that contractor's in and out of that job in, you know, 45 days and not 3 months or longer, because they're waiting on that check to become green, so to speak, after it's fully endorsed by all parties. So we collect we have a feature that allows folks to collect signatures digitally. So even if you have a multi-party check, even let's say without a mortgage company on it, a lot of cases you could have a customer that lives an hour away. What does everybody do nowadays? They, you know, just because they have to pick up that check or meet, you know, they make extra reasons to meet with the customer just because they have to go out and get a check. Well, with our platform, the insured could take a picture of the check, upload it to the platform, and everybody digitally endorses it, and the funds go to the contractor electronically instead of running around for check exchanges and whatnot. But even with the mortgage company on that check, you know, we can verify the check, get it processed quickly, and move those funds into the contractor's account. And then it goes off to the mortgage company. And we get this, you know, and then it comes back, and yeah, we still have to deal with a paper check, but everything's moving. The contractor's gotten paid, you know, the customer is happy. If you're not on top of this process with your customers, with your insureds, you know, they could jump ship, they'll go elsewhere. I've seen it happen so many times, and companies feel that because they have a signed contract that they're not going to lose that customer, and there's in fact tremendous churn, 20% or more for some companies that just aren't on the up and up with their customer service because they feel like, I've already done my job as a salesperson. Now we just wait for the insurance money. Well, the customer may decide to go with another roofer that was just a little bit more attentive and you know, kept in touch with them. Who knows? So the faster you can move the process through, which includes processing of the funds, and make it easier for your customers, I think the better it is for everybody.
You just mentioned something that I wasn't even aware of, that there's a 20% churn rate on contractors when they sign a homeowner to work with them with the insurance companies. A 20% churn rate. Is that right?
I've seen that before with some, you know, very large companies. In fact, companies doing more than, if you could imagine, 2 to 250 roofs a month, losing 40, 50, 60 deals, sometimes more a month, because they are just signing the contract and, you know, not paying attention to the customer between that point of sale and when that claim is approved. And then the customer ends up jumping ship. So, you know, the funny thing is, contractors also have the mentality of, oh, well, I don't want to, and this is actually important now to talk about because of the new law changes here in the state of Florida. But contractors that, you know, before weren't working with public adjusters say they wouldn't want to pay the 10% fee, even though it would help protect their interest in the claim, um, when they were losing 20% of their business. So I said, well, you'd be gaining 10% more just by using a public adjuster, even if you don't like using them. So simple. When you take a look at the different components throughout the process and what helps protect your funds, what helps move your money the fastest, what helps get your customer back to whole quickly, those are really, I think, in my opinion, some of the most important things that can happen. Yeah, things are going to go wrong during construction. I think, that's not conveyed enough. Is like, look, all the things that are really important that could really slow this down, especially with the money, we have that handled. We're partnered with Iink. We can get that streamlined and get you into scheduling very quickly because we have that partnership. But you know, contractors need to also explain that in construction things are going to go wrong, and um, they sometimes like to sugarcoat the process and not be upfront about it. But I say, tell your customer everything. Educate them on what could and could not happen and how you're going to handle it. Don't just wait till it happens. And I think everything goes much better.
What do you see as the biggest mistakes that contractors make in terms of the financial, like how to, like the financial aspect in terms of with dealing with insurance companies? What do you think are the biggest mistakes? I think mentioned before when we talked was they don't plan ahead, or they don't plan in terms of their money, so they might be under on a lot of deals. What do you think are the biggest mistakes that the contractors make in terms of that aspect?
That's certainly one of them. And robbing Peter to pay Paul. It's and it's not always intentional, Mauricio. It's very much these guys and gals go out, they start a company and they start growing it, and all of a sudden, let's say a storm hits, a good one, and they go out and write 200 contracts in short order. Well, once those start coming to fruition and they need to start building all those jobs, if it's not properly timed, they could run out of money because they're waiting on back end checks. They're waiting on additional processing of those checks. They're waiting on the mortgage companies. They don't have the capacity to scale with the amount of business that they have. Maybe they have a lot of people who are hungry and came in and went out and signed a bunch of contracts. Well, that's great, but did you also scale your internal operations? Because if you didn't, the same person that was doing 5 roofs a week is not all of a sudden going to be able to manage 20. How do you think they're actually going to be able to follow up with on all these checks and what the status is? And does the mortgage company have everything? So when they're not prepared for that, they end up going under when they thought getting all this business was a great thing. And I'm not the only one that's seen that. Partners that tell me stories all the time of folks that have been around for 10, 15 years or more, and this would happen to them. So you have to be very cognizant of your cash flow, what the process is going to look like, what your contingency plan is in case certain amounts of funds are not coming back, or you don't have to worry about any of that if you come work with Iink. I mean, we're gonna make sure that your money is always there and moving. But that would be number one. And the added problem to that is when you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, you're walking a very fine line, because you could lose your license as a contractor for taking that money that's supposed to be for a job and spending on other items. So something to be very careful of.
Yeah.
I would say that that is probably the first and foremost. Well, maybe not the most prevalent issue that always occurs, but definitely probably one of the most important, because it could capsize your entire business. It could bankrupt you.
100%. And that's what I see with contract. I always encourage our clients or anybody just doing marketing. I encourage to use credit or financing for their own marketing, because if you're using cash or using debit cards or anything like that, it just puts you in a precarious situation if you have to spend a lot of money, you know, 10,000 or $15,000 in a short order. And you might even sell a few deals, but again, you might not get that cash back for like 40, 60 days, right? So like, for example, like put it on the marketing aspect, what I see is like a lot of these guys, they you know, sign up, they pay 5 or 10,000, 20,000 or 30,000, whatever the amount is over a 30, 60, 90, 120-day period. And some of these guys might even sell some of the leads we generate, but since they use cash to fund that, you know, they might get, it might be like a few months to get that money back. So you're like, if you use credit cards or use financial, like you're delaying the payment until you have actually like cash in the bank. And that's what I encourage contractors to do. Unfortunately, a lot of them, I see they have you know, they have either bad credit or they just don't have any credit at all. And that's not, you can't run a business like that. I'm sorry, especially in the construction space. That's, if in the construction space, you need to have cash flow, you need to have all that, because that issue is always, I don't think it's going to be ever correct. That's why you came here, and it's going to help to facilitate that issue. It's going to make it, it's going to increase the cash velocity. That's really the most important thing. It's going to help them with their business. If you free up the cash velocity, if you get more cash, then you can do more things with your business. You can hire more people. You can you do more innovative marketing campaigns. You can invest in that office or whatever you need to do. So when you have that in place, then instead of getting stuck, right? If you're stuck or going quicksand, you don't have the cash, you can't do anything. All right. Does that make sense? What I'm saying? Yeah. Yeah.
No, absolutely. And you want to get to your profit as quickly as possible, right? Um, don't be afraid, especially with you know, we're giving it away at 1.95% in my opinion, and we're even working on making that fee a little bit lower in the future. But at 1.95%, to get to your profit as quickly as possible so that you can reinvest into your business, you're not, you know, you're then not jeopardizing that job, or jeopardizing your pay or your staff's pay. You're getting to where you need to be in order to make sure your business is running smoothly. So yeah, I mean, I I uh, I would heavily encourage folks to take a look at everything that affects their cash flow, even, you know, their marketing materials. I think that and be careful about this too. Go read up on the new law here if you're a Florida contractor, with regards to how you can actually advertise um, your business. I believe there are some strict guidelines in there now, that are allowing contractors to say that they are insurance specialists or anything of that nature. So
Yeah.
um, definitely do your research, find out what you can do, but that doesn't mean you can't be informative on, again, the process. You know, just getting to your profit quickly, and utilizing tools out there, and understanding, um, you know, how your marketing, even your marketing dollars, could affect educating your customers, and how that would positively impact, you know, them handling the funds, and being on the lookout for the check from the insurance company or the mortgage company. um, don't let them, you know, be sitting in the dark, or let that check be sitting on their dining room table for a few weeks before they realize, like, oh, this is the check that just got here. And that could all come from, again, just education. So I think that there's a lot of areas of a contracting business or a restoration professional's business that they could look at, in which they could invest in to improve cash flow overall, that you wouldn't normally think about. And that's part of the reason why I was excited to have a talk with you today. Is you know, not too many, not you know, there's not too many marketing companies and payments companies coming together and talking about, hey, how can we provide value together. And I think that's a perfect example, is um, you know, making sure that your customers are able to provide some education through their marketing as to how they can be helpful in the process,
Yeah.
without, of course, stepping over any boundaries, and again, being cognizant of the new laws here in Florida.
For sure. This might be a dumb question, but how do you actually Inc? How do they get do they partner with financial institutions to actually get the funds to the contractor? Is that how it works?
That's right. So we're partnered with Avidia Bank as our home bank, and that integration and partnership took over a year for us to put together. Took most of 2020. We also have a partnership with Bridge Bank to offer additional access to capital for our customers. And then, like I said, we also have a partnership with Plaid and an integration coming with them, Equifax, Visa, and we'll be excited to roll out our Ink Visa debit program here
Nice.
this year as well. Really, what we're constructing is going to be very similar to what you could imagine, like Venmo for insurance restoration. So at the end of the day, when we can help digitize these checks faster, help eliminate them entirely, and have all those payments come in electronically to your Ink platform and be dispersed to multiple stakeholders at once, or have multiple people verify those funds instantaneously rather than through the mail and through faxes and on paper like it's being done today. Everyone's gonna I think be much happier, get those homeowners back to normal quickly.
Awesome. And just to summarize, like, what are the three main benefits that a contractor can have when they're using Inc for their business?
Number one would be speeding up their AR, of course, and getting that off their plate. Would probably be number two. I know that a lot of contractors do have someone in their office that handles this, and that's fine. But again, we're always here if you're going to scale up, or if you have something else that'll be more worth that individual's time, rather than sitting on hold with Bank of America for a few hours waiting to find out if a check's been released or not. Then we're definitely for you. But speeding up your cash flow, getting this advanced administration off your plate would be number two. And then number three, and maybe we should move this to the front, but making sure your customer's happy, getting your customer into scheduling quickly. Think about your customer's mindset when your competition tells them, hey, when your check lands, we're partnered with Inc. And that means we can get you into scheduling right away because they'll process the check right away. And if you go with anyone else that doesn't have Inc, you might be waiting 2-3 weeks or more before they can get you into scheduling because they've got to wait for that mortgage endorsement. So if anything, it would be making sure that you're keeping up with what everybody else is in your area going to be I'm sure doing, because contractors get it. They don't want to deal with this problem anymore. Public adjusters don't want to deal with this problem anymore. We as a company have not always been, I guess you could say we haven't gotten all the way there yet for some folks, and that's fine. But we're getting close. With the new added features we have coming, I think that we're not just going to be replacing that status quo. We're going to be 10 times better than replacing the status quo. So we'll get there eventually, but we're very grateful for all the customers that we have now and the tremendous amount of industry support that we've received.
Awesome. So anything else you want to add?
No, just anyone obviously looking to beef up their marketing in the roofing industry needs to give Mauricio a call here. Certainly marketing is one of those parts of the business that, again, leave it up to the professionals, leave it up to someone who really dives into this every single day and can help you maximize the return on your investment. And so again, thank you so much for taking the time to connect with me today and discuss, these issues and how our respective companies can help.
Yeah, appreciate it. How do people find you?
You can go to our website. It's IinkTech, IinkTech.com. Also Iink Pay, IINKPAY.com. And you can give us a call at 833-GOT-INK, GOTIINK, or 833-468-4465. Or just shoot us an email, info@inktech.com. We're on Facebook, Instagram. If you do a Google search for us, you'll probably find us, but just make sure you put in 2 I's. So IINK, and you should be able to find us, Iink Payments.
Awesome. I appreciate it. So Ryan, I really appreciate your time. I'm going to put your contact information on the description of the videos that we put out. And I really encourage you guys that are watching this to use Iink. It's gonna make your business. I think it's gonna just basically free up cash. It's gonna help your business. That's it. It's a tool you can use to help your business. So I really encourage you guys to use it. And if you guys have any questions, just let me know. I really appreciate your time, Ryan.
Appreciate yours, Mauricio. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thanks, you too. Take care.
Bye.